the Nick situation. And so usually you early in the show, we did this in quick hits. You had said, you don't do this. This is the thing you don't do. You look dumb. You look desperate. And if you're Tibbs, you tell him to kick rocks, right?
Yeah, my theory on relationships is when they're over, the person's dead to me.
95% of the time, I think you're right. This might be the one time where this is an organization that has already botched this coaching job, and they can still land the plane. They can still get it right. Getting it right might be going back to Tibbs, though, because everybody they've targeted are the word that we've heard of the. Like, there are plenty of NBA championship winning coaches or successful NBA coaches out there. Taylor Jenkins is out there. Mike Malone is out there. Mike Budenholzer is out there. Frank Vogel is out there. And by the way, I just mentioned 4 names. There's probably another 7 or 8 that I could mention that are as good as the guys they're trying to poach. Certainly better than Jason Kidd, which I just do not get the Jason Kidd thing. He has a great point guard. He's got a great basketball mind. I think he is the most mid-NBA coach possible. You give him Kyrie and Luka, yeah, he might be in the NBA Finals. You take one of those away, he might get you the number 1 pick. But that being said, this did lead to the question of, and we threw this around the pre-show, and I'm kind of curious where people are going to go with it. But if you could unfire any coach or GM in Cleveland sports history, who would it be and why? For you, who is it?
It would have been John Dorsey. If I could bring back John Dorsey tomorrow, I would bring back John Dorsey. One of the best drafters of the previous 15 years in the NFL. Drafted Travis Kelce, drafted Patrick Mahomes, drafted Kareem Hunt, came here, drafted Myles Garrett, drafted Nick Chubb, drafted Baker Mayfield, drafted Denzel Ward, went to the Lions after this, drafted St. Brown, drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, drafted Hutchinson. Like, the man just knows what he's doing when it comes to drafting impact players. And I don't even know that I need him to wheel and deal, like trading for OBJ. But I love the fact with him, anything was possible as far as trades were concerned, and he was one of the best drafters the sport has seen in the previous 15 years.
So people then respond with the 2019 draft, which was not certainly as good as the 2018 draft. And I will say, okay, am I going to judge him because he got a top 12 NFL quarterback, at the time, top 3 NFL running back, and Denzel Ward, maybe one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the NFL with 3 of his first 4 picks? Or am I going to judge him on Antonio Callaway? You tell me. Am I going to judge him on Chad Thomas, or am I going to judge him on Denzel Ward? I don't know.
You get to miss. When you have that many hits and that many premier hits, you get to miss from a time or two. It never made sense to me.
So the Dorsey
never
thing,
made sense to me.
So the Dorsey thing to me is, I just wish I could go back to 2019 and say, Dorsey, just don't hire Freddie. I know you don't want somebody that's a threat to you like Andy Reid might have been, or that, I think that was maybe the perception. I don't know that to be a fact, but like, just hire somebody who can just be functional at the job. Just give somebody who actually might be a decent NFL head coach. You just never know. Just do that, please. Because I agree with you. Dorsey, I still think they pulled the plug on Dorsey, 2 drafts for a guy who, again, the first draft, he knocked it out of the park. And I just continue to come back. Now, I wouldn't choose Dorsey, but I think that is a top 3 suggestion there.
Yeah, I just think it makes so much. I would hire him for my football team tomorrow. I loved his mentality. I loved everything about him. He was and that was a football guy too. Like, just everything about him was great.
Is it a hot take? Because I'm thinking about this in real time. Because I've thought about this a lot, but I'm just trying to rehash. Go
for the hot take first, and then we'll unravel it.
I think if John Dorsey is here for the last 5 years, I think you have a lot. I think you have a more consistent success than you've had.
That's not a hot take. It's almost a guarantee.
I think
it's almost a guarantee.
I think you probably have another playoff win or 2.
For sure you do.
I don't think Baker ever goes through the blues that he does.
He was never given up on Baker, by the way, so Baker would still be your quarterback.
And by the way, I think everything that Baker did in Tampa, I think Baker could have done in Cleveland with the right people around him. And I think with people that believed in him like John Dorsey did. So again, it's not mine, but I will say, like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to unfire John Dorsey. I still you know me, I don't really traffic in, I'm interested in picking a lot of people's brain, but given John's kind of DNA as the organization he grew up in Green Bay, given his proximity to Ron Wolf and Ted Thompson, given his own success with the quarterbacks that he's picked and the teams he's built, man, I just love to spend a day just learning football from John Dorsey. And there's not a lot of people I actually would. I can't say that about Andrew Berry.
I went into the list of people you wouldn't spend a day with now.
It's most.
It's most.
It's like, and not that they don't know more than me, but just that I don't know that I would enjoy learning from them. I don't know that, like, John Dorsey's a guy that's just a guy's guy that you can just talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And that he could teach you things without being like, I'm going to teach you, without being professorial.
Yeah, you would just talk like a normal human. He was great. I did think the sweaters. I think his branding got a little bit overboard. That's the only downside of John Dorsey that I always fell back on. It was weird that like a GM had branding. I always thought that was a little awkward.
So
love him outside of that though.
I actually love it. I love every bit of it.
That was weird.
So he's not my guy, and the guy that I would choose is not as good as him at his job. But it's about the pivotal point in Browns history that took the Browns from, they've had some success, but they've lost a lot of games. But it's where we all started feeling wildly hopeless, and where things took off in a direction where that eventually led to 0-16 and 1-15, right? And that is firing Phil Savage. They were right. Like, Phil Savage, with some of his decisions and some of his failures, was fireable. So is Romeo Crennel. The problem is that you had a completely absentee owner and a lot of dysfunction in that organization. And Phil probably should have been given the opportunity to pick his head coach. And the reason why I say that is what happened when Mangini took over. He also became the football ops guy after Kokinas got Kokinist. After all that, what did he do? He spent the whole time disassembling the team that Phil Savage had built while not having the asset, while not fulfilling the assets to then rebuild. So I got to say, I think you have a better chance of then not going. I think they had the 5th pick in 2009, which was with Phil's players. But then you got what was the pick next year? The 7th pick for Joe Hayden. A year later, it was the Julio Jones. And then we kind of had fire, higher, fire, all that. I think if you had just kept Phil.
Would have brought more stability.
And by the way, do you know who I think his head coach could have been?
Who's that?
What does Phil love? What does Ozzie Newsome love? They love Alabama guys, right? Guys with Alabama ties.
Alabama.
You ready for it?
Yeah.
I think Bruce Arians would have been a real candidate. He was in the division. He's an Alabama guy, having coached there. I think he has connections going all the way back to Bear Bryant. And I honestly think Bruce Arians just one of like 3 guys that could have gotten something out of Derek Anderson again. That felt really good. It felt like we really went back like 15 years ago. There's like a 22-year-old kid being like, I don't know any of these names right now. But it is interesting. It's more GMs to me than head coaches.
Yeah, because you never think I need to unfire that head coach. Most of the times the head coach got fired for a reason. No one's going to be like, I need to unfire Hugh Jackson. It's like, no, we were all ready for Hugh Jackson to be done. Now, maybe I was thinking about some like offensive coordinators that have come through here, obviously. I was thinking of Shanahan. You could have that part back.
Or if you just hired Shanahan as a head coach in 2014.
That's kind of the point, right? Instead of firing him, you hire him as the head coach, and then all of a sudden everything seems drastically different. But again, maybe he wasn't ready at that point either.
Actually, if I could just refire a GM before they got the job, it'd be Ray Farmer. That's another pivotal point where, and no disrespect to Ray as a person, he was an unmitigated. I was talking to somebody. I was like, do we realize how bad his GMing was? His draft picks were Johnny Manziel, Justin Gilbert, Cam Irving, and Danny Shelton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the googly eyes in real life here. Like, that's as bad as a draft as anyone's drafted in the history of drafting. That's how bad that when your best player is Danny Shelton, who was a 2-down player and a nose tackle in an era where nose tackles didn't really matter. Not great, Bob. 216-474-0092. If you could unfire any GM or any coach in Cleveland, we get you to the DeLorean, and we do the Bobby Portis, right? Hey, you fired him. Mistake. Emotions ran high. Let's unfire them. Who'd it be and why? JP says John Dorsey. I say Phil Savage.